chains of destiny. Joseph, the God who works in silence. Every one of us will face a moment when the dream God gave us and the life in front of us look nothing alike. This is where faith is born, not on the mountain of glory, but in the valley where prayers seem unanswered and the future looks shattered. Joseph's story is not simply about rising to power. It is about trusting God when every reason to trust seems gone. Lean in. This is one of the most dangerous stories in Scripture, because once you understand it, you will never see suffering the same way again. Joseph doesn't enter Egypt as a hero. He enters with dust on his face and betrayal in his heart. His own brothers sold him. His own flesh said, "You are worth silver." And yet, on that journey, Joseph made a decision that becomes the hinge of his entire destiny. He chose to believe that God was still good, not because life felt good, but because God had proven himself faithful before the pain. This is a different kind of faith, not emotional faith, not when things go well faith, but faith that breathes through wounds. Remember this moment, because this is the moment that shaped the throne. Joseph enters Potiphar's household with chains still fresh on his skin, but he refuses to work like a slave. He works like a son of God. He does every task, mundane or grand, with dignity. He doesn't wait to be promoted to serve with honor. He serves with honor and is promoted. And here's the secret. Excellence is not about skill. Excellence is worship. Potiphar saw it. Everyone saw it. Authority was put in Joseph's hand because character cannot be hidden. Even in captivity, Joseph shines. Remember this. You don't need to be free to be favored. You just need to be faithful. And just when Joseph rises, the enemy strikes. Potiphar's wife whispers the invitation. Not once, not twice, but day after day. Seduction was not the snare. The snare was, no one will ever know. Holiness is not tested when people are watching. Holiness is tested when no one would ever know the difference. Joseph doesn't negotiate. He doesn't reason. He doesn't flirt with the flame. He runs. Better to lose a garment than lose your soul. And for that integrity, he becomes a prisoner. Let that sink in. Sometimes doing the right thing leads directly into pain. But pain with God is better than pleasure without him. Joseph sits in the cold silence of prison, chains, isolation, forgottenness, and yet he chooses again. He chooses faithful presence. He listens to the broken. He serves the condemned. He comforts the afraid. Not because life was fair, but because God was near. And the prison begins to shift. The chief keeper sees it. Joseph rises again. You can chain a man's hands, but you can't chain God's favor. The cupbearer and baker dream their troubling dreams. Fear shakes them, and Joseph speaks a sentence that explains his entire life. Interpretations belong to God, but tell me, meaning, I don't know the future, but I know the one who does. The dreams are interpreted. One man is restored. One is judged. Joseph asks to be remembered, and he is forgotten for 2 whole years. Silence is sometimes the loudest tool heaven uses. Because silence proves, do you trust the promise? Or do you trust the timing? Pharaoh dreams 2 dreams that shake the throne. No priest can explain, no magician can interpret. And suddenly, the memory returns to the cupbearer. Joseph is lifted from prison in a single moment. Was it sudden? Number. It took years for that sudden to come. Joseph stands before Pharaoh, but listen, he does not say, I am gifted. He says, it is not in me. God will give the answer. Humility is how heaven recognizes its own. Joseph interprets the dream. 7 years plenty, 7 years famine. Prepare now. And the most powerful man in the world bows to the wisdom of a prisoner. Joseph becomes governor over Egypt. The story has turned, but not ended. The famine hits, and the world kneels. Kings ride horses to Egypt. Caravans cross deserts. Desperation pushes pride aside. And among the desperate come Joseph's brothers. They bow before him. The dream is fulfilled, but the feeling is complicated. This is not a moment for revenge. This is a moment for redemption. Joseph needs to know, are these the same brothers? Who sold me for silver? He doesn't test them to hurt them. He tests them to heal them. He watches. Do they still envy? Do they still betray? Do they still lie? And then comes the turning point. Judah offers himself in place of Benjamin, the same Judah who once said, sell the boy. This time he says, take me instead. Transformation confirmed. Hearts restored. Joseph cannot hold back. He breaks. He weeps. He reveals himself. And the palace hears the sobs of a family healed. Jacob arrives in Egypt, old, tired, weathered by grief. He sees Joseph, the son he buried in his heart, the son whose absence broke him. He falls into Joseph's arms and breathes again. Some resurrections happen. Before the final resurrection, Jacob, nearing death, blesses his sons, not with simple wishes, but prophetic destinies. He adopts Joseph's sons into the covenant, a promise that outsiders can become sons through grace. And then Joseph himself grows old. He gathers his family and speaks one final truth. God will surely visit you, and he will bring you out of this land. Not even glory in Egypt could eclipse the promise of God. Joseph dies, but not as a man defeated. He dies pointing forward, forward to Moses, forward to the Exodus, forward to the Lamb, forward to Christ, because every chain that held Joseph was really leading him, and every chain that holds you may be doing the same. The silence was not abandonment. The prison was not punishment. The betrayal was not the end. God was there. In every step. You thought he wasn't. This is Bible Unveiled, where every story whispers, God is working, even when you hear nothing.